Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I am Jason, your host. I hope you are having a wonderful, splendiferous day. We are out on a little wander. We're going to go and pick up some treats for the dogs in Hanley. Probably some burgers for the dogs to eat. I thought it was time to do a rework of... I've talked about what my official diagnosis are, but this is a video where I define how it affects me. Autistic spectrum disorder is such a blanket term. I can understand why they do a blanket term now, because they used to call the people also Asperger's and other things, but this is like a blanket term. You're on the spectrum, you've got the disorder, your brain works differently, but the way it affects you will be personal. The way your life goes will be different. So what I'd say and how it affects me is unique to me, unique to who I am, to my life experiences. And so let's first deal with autistic spectrum. So when I was very young, let's put it that way, when I was very young, and the world never felt right. Of course, I didn't really know that, did I? Because when you're young, your experiences come from how you feel, how you perceive things, how life looks to you. You don't have any other frame of reference when you're young. I just thought that everybody else had trouble with smiling, had trouble with laughing, had trouble with lying. When I had the first concrete proof of someone lying to me, it was horrible. It was like as if my brain was a computer and you had just given it a result that it could not compute. It was like, but that isn't right. You're saying something that is not true. Why are you doing that? What? Why? And my brain was basically stuttering and trying to figure. And this stuttering happened a lot. Not in my voice. I didn't stutter through my voice, but my brain would stutter. It's the best way to describe it. Everything I saw that didn't make sense. When I saw people so happily and comfortably talking to people, when I saw people connecting and doing things and doing what turned out to be very shallow things that my brain couldn't saw people joking and laughing, and they seemed to understand the jokes and laughed. And when people said a joke, they understood that it was a joke. And I thought everybody else was just creating a mask and faking it, and that's what I started to do to survive. I looked at people, I saw how they reacted, and I created a mask, a fake persona over my own, so that I could fit in, so that I didn't do stupid things like tell everybody everything right at the start and make myself a laughing stock for the entire fucking school, and a subject of being bullied by the entire school. And it's just, that was my early time, my early experience of knowing that the world did not in any way make sense. It just didn't, and I couldn't understand why. The only things that made sense to me at the time was the toolkit that I had and the computer, the little computer I had at the time. They made sense because everything was form, everything was worked. If you put garbage in, you got garbage out. You put a program in, you got a result out, and math, and it worked, and it just felt right. Now, to show the length that my brain couldn't understand or accept the concept of deception and that, when my sister back then told me as a child, when I was a little tiny kid, that there was little people inside the actual wall and that run all the electricity and everything and run all the house and the electricity and that, I took it as absolute truth, and that's when I started to drill holes into the actual wall to try to find them. So yeah, as I grew up, I had this kind of distance, disconnecting with the world. I didn't have a girlfriend early on. I didn't have many friends because I had this mask on, and they were friends with the mask. The mask was their friend, not me. I couldn't be myself. I could be myself with my computer. I could be myself with other things. I had a friend who was like 7 years younger than me. I think I was at the time, I was about 14, and this friend from next door was about 9 or 8 or something like that. And the reason that he came around and played on the computer, and he was one of my friends because he hadn't yet started to lie. He hadn't yet started to deceive. Most children, when they're first born, don't deceive, don't lie. They're just thinking. We'd learned this from people. And so this was the only person back then. And so this is how my autism affected me back then. It fucking wrecked me because I was always exhausted. I've said so many times that when I was at the town, when I was in where I lived, when I had to go to school, when I left the house, I would always be looking for hidden places. Backyards that weren't used, back of garages, overgrown wilderness, anywhere to be away from the noise, to be away from the people, to be away from all of this. My natural instinct was to head to these places. I didn't know why, but I would spend hours and hours and hours on my own, a weird kid, spending his time looking through old junk at the back of a garage and that, away from people. And it was just all part of it. And the people that I did become close to were autistic, but I didn't know they were autistic. I never knew they were autistic until it was actually later in life, because, well, that's the way it is when you're a child, when you don't know any different, when you think that the world's just strange.
As hard as it is for me, I am.
And so, my life was one of exhaustion. I would create this mask that I lived through, deal with school, deal with college, and coming home from that was always go to my computers, be with my computers. My computers were my friends. My computers were what kept me safe. And it just kept going that way. Until now my mum understood me. She didn't know what it was, but she did understand me. Now I need to find out, can I get past that? Hopefully I can, because there's a little bit of room there. I'm out with enough room. I mean, seriously. Ooh, close. So yeah. And then I met Paola, and Paola allowed me to be myself. And this was just amazing to me. She saw the real me and didn't run away. She saw the real me and allowed me to be me. And a few other people in my life allowed that. And then came the bad stuff. See, for 20 years I looked after Paola and she looked after me. And I was functional. That's the best way to say. And she was my anchor. Wait till we're past this. So yeah, she was functional. It was functional. I functioned for about 18, 20 years. Every day, 6 a.m. to midnight, 6 a.m. to midnight, 6 a.m. to midnight, looking after Paola, making sure she was safe. 6 a.m. to midnight. Let's go up there. And when Paola died, I had a complete meltdown. I was free falling, and nothing anybody tried helped. Nothing could bring me back. The only thing that I was gripping onto was my computer. And that was it. That was the only thing that I was gripping onto with my fingernails, the very tip of my fingernails, and that was the only reason that I was still functional at all. Losing Paola totally destroyed my ability to form a mask, completely got rid of this ability to be the thing. It was just gone. There was nothing else I could do. And how can I put it? It was a very dark time. I had nothing to hold me together at all. You got to imagine, I had spent 20 years bonded to, connected to this singular person in my life that was the only person in my life, and then that person was gone. So yeah, that is why I was such a mess. That is why it was so hard to go and move on from that point. And I became completely non-functional outside the house. I couldn't basically take a step outside the house without Paola's wheelchair. It was not a good time. In a way, my life was not my own. I was just complete cognitive dissonance. And I still get that if I try to leave the house alone. So, yeah. So that is how it affected me. Now, my mobile safe space, my coping strategies you all know about. Even this technology here has allowed me to function, allowed me to leave the house, allows me to be independent. And when I have someone who I trust coming to my house, that helps as well. It can still be exhausting, and I am still finding triggers and issues and problems that I have to face, that I have to work out and figure out and try to get things working. So let's stop this vlog here and start. And so that covers how my autism spectrum disorder affects me. Of course, because I have comorbidities in ADHD, Bipolar and PTSD, it's never as simple as all that. But I'll probably start talking again after I've been into town, because I'm going to go, so it's going to have to be a long vlog, each one is. So I'm going to shut this one down now. So I'll say goodbye now. I go up into town and pick up the dog's treats, and then I'll start a new vlog.